Hi, I'm Jen Kelly with New Initiatives Marketing. I'm the founder and one of the fractional CMOs.
And hi, I'm Nicole Crozier, and I'm a fractional CMO with New Initiatives Marketing. And today we're going to be answering a question from one of our B2B leaders for our Ask a Fractional CMO newsletter. And so the question that we have today is really interesting. And so the question is, we want to start doing some email campaigns, but we're new to spending money on marketing. So we would like a guarantee first on the number of leads coming in if we start this email marketing. And then once we see enough leads, we can put more budget towards our marketing overall. So how many leads should we expect in our first month? And so this is actually a question we often get is around, can we get a guarantee on the number of leads we're going to have coming in when we first start marketing? And one thing that comes up for us around that is that a lot of these companies are sales-driven organizations. So most of their prospects and their sales are coming in from direct outreach from salespeople. And so, Jen, how does that kind of tie into this question? How does that impact why they're asking this question?
It seems like it impacts why they're asking this question. If you are in an organization or the department that is focused on sales,
Mm,
um, many things, almost everything is numbers. So how many
mm,
calls, how many meetings, how many emails sent out, how many people are going to the second demo, the third demo. So everything can be figured out in
mhm.
forms of, numbers of things or activities or people you talk to today, or this week, and it's,
Right.
revenue is linked to that. It's
Mhm.
very numbers, numbers, numbers. So that makes sense. So when someone is focused on that, moves over to think about starting marketing, naturally it seems like numbers would be the way to think about how are we going to start anything with
Mhm.
marketing. So it makes a lot of sense if you've been focused on the sales and now you're going over to marketing. It's because marketing is different. There's a different way we need you to think
Mhm.
about that. We can deliver numbers, but starting day one, there's a lot of other things we have to talk about in order to get a marketing campaign up and running so it can deliver you the numbers that you need.
With a lot of these organizations, they've been operating as a sales organization for quite a long time, and they're doing quite well. But I think what a lot of these organizations forget is that they also started with their sales somewhere. And when they started doing their sales calls, they likely didn't have any information on knowing how many sales calls they'd need to make in order to get a customer or get a lead. And so they had to start somewhere with that information. They didn't have the information back then on, how much money they had to spend per salesperson in order to get a lead and a customer. And so that's kind of where they're starting now with marketing. They're starting at the beginning. And so one of the first things that we would ask a client when we're first doing their marketing is, what data do you have? What marketing have you been doing up until this point? And what information do you have on the number of leads that are coming in, the number of leads you need in order to convert to a paying customer? What does a marketing qualified lead look like for you? What does a sales qualified lead look like for you? What's your average cost per customer or per prospect or per lead? So if you're starting from scratch, if you haven't done any marketing before, you don't have that data yet. And so without that data, it's almost impossible to predict how many leads would need to come in and how much money would have to be spent in order to get those leads in.
Mhm. That's a good point. And then specifically back to the email marketing question, if they've been doing any kind of email marketing, so are you mailing once a month, once a week? Do you already
Mm-hmm.
have a list? What is the cadence now? What is your success now? What are your open rates now? What's happening now? If you
Right.
don't have that and we're starting from scratch, that's where we can't
Mm-hmm.
guarantee any kind of leads, open rates, anything, because we have to build up the whole campaign in order to get started.
Right, right. So in order for email marketing to be effective, first you have to have an email list. So if you don't have an email list yet, then something has to be put in place ahead of time to get those leads in and onto your list so that they can then be converted as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if from a potential client's point of view, I can tell we're asking them to take a leap of faith here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the reason why we won't give out any kind of definitive number is if you don't have, in this case, an email marketing program in place, you don't have a list, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
any software, you haven't been doing this, yet you want us to guarantee how many leads or opens you're going to get within the first month, it would be highly irresponsible for us to do that. What the kind of
Right.
thing that we would recommend that you do is through the strategy, getting the email marketing campaign set up, but getting the list set up and getting an email campaign and an email marketing campaign and focus started,
Mm-hmm.
then you'd be collecting the data. Then we could start to see with a list of X size, how many opens, we can start to uh, change around how the campaign is working once we
Mm-hmm.
see some data coming in. But to give you a number before anything is set up,
Mm-hmm.
it's too irresponsible to do
Mm-hmm.
so. So
Yeah.
we would suggest you mail at least, if we're going on a monthly campaign, do at least 1/4 of mailings. So that's 3 months, and then really start to see what's going on with your audience and your results. And then we can start to talk some real numbers.
Other thing this brings up for me is kind of like just taking a step back and looking at that big picture of marketing. If this is someone who came to us with this question and they already have a marketing strategy in place, and the email marketing is one part of that marketing strategy, then everything we've been talking about right now would speak to answering that question. But we also get clients sometimes who do come to us asking about a specific marketing tactic. We'd like you to help us with our email marketing, and we need a guarantee on the number of leads that would come in. In those cases, we would step back and ask them first, okay, well, let us know a little bit about your marketing strategy. And we would do a little bit of an audit to make sure that they do have a really sound marketing strategy in place that would support that one tactic of email marketing. But if they didn't, we wouldn't recommend they just start with a single tactic. We'd recommend that they do take the time to put that marketing strategy in place and make sure that that email marketing is one part of an overall system. Because one tactic in and of itself usually doesn't work to drive the right amount of leads and the right quality of leads. Usually you need to connect it into a larger strategy or a system.
That makes a good point. Let's talk that through a little bit. So
Sure.
in our imaginary situation where a company is very used to working with and dealing with the salespeople, that's why
Mm-hmm.
they're so numbers focused, right? It makes a lot of sense. So if we just start up with an email campaign, what happens if it's disconnected? And where I'm thinking immediately is if an email campaign is just started and it
Mm-hmm.
goes out and sales isn't linked into it and
Mm-hmm.
we don't have any strategy about what to do with the folks that open, what to do with the folks that click,
Mm-hmm.
with the folks, what do we do with the folks that are indicating they are more interested in hearing from us or learning more about us?
Mm-hmm.
If that email marketing tactic is not linked in with the larger part of the business, in this
Right.
case, sales
Mm-hmm.
directly, you're missing out on a lot of warm prospects there just
Exactly.
simply by having one tactic go out, not linked to the rest of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an example of how just in this case, email marketing on its own may actually be generating a lot
Mm-hmm.
of interest, but when it's not linked into the whole company and it's not connected to a whole
Mm-hmm.
strategy around how is the marketing going to help your company grow and achieve its sales goals, it falls flat.
Right. Right. And often when companies are thinking about just a single email marketing campaign, they're often thinking about one-off emails here and there that are going to cause people to take some sort of action. But when we talk about marketing strategy, one of the core elements to that is really understanding a business's customer journey. So understanding all of the steps that an ideal client would go through in order to get to know that your company exists, like who you are and what you stand for, trust that you can deliver on what you've promised, and educate you on the benefits and the reasons why their products and services are really going to help you achieve some sort of goal or alleviate some sort of pain or challenge. And so without knowing that, it's almost impossible to know what type of emails that they would need to receive, in what order, and with what content. It would be impossible to know what additional educational materials we may need to create for these email campaigns to help the prospects move through that process. And so your email campaigns really are tied into that overall strategy and connected to your customer journey. And so we would like to take a little bit of a step back first before creating those campaigns to make sure that we're sending the right message, that they're going to be effective, and they're going to reach people in the right way, in the way they need to hear the message.
So that would be the reason why we can't guarantee how many leads are going to come in from your very first email campaign when you haven't started. So
yes. And yeah, and so in summary, one, it's important to have a strategy first and tie that into your customer journey, your marketing system, and then your email campaigns are one tactic within that system. When you're starting out with marketing, it's really hard to know what your marketing budget should be in order to guarantee a certain amount of leads. What you have to do is make your best educated guess first, put some budget towards it based on industry standards, and then you can start taking some action. You can start gathering that data and that information, and then after 6 months or a year, you evaluate that data. And that's then going to tell you, okay, we spent this much money, it's brought in this many leads have converted, and so this marketing budget results in this many sales. But you can't have that information until you've been doing it for a little while, and we recommend 6 months to a year in order to really get that right data. After that point, you can make some more predictable guesses around what your marketing budget is going to bring you in terms of leads and sales. And so those are our recommendations for the question that we had this week.